bright and beautiful morning it is. Check the time right now. 1 gone past 7 a.m. Today's Monday in the nation's capital. Nigeria's capital, actually. Abuja. My name is Owigho, and this is Owigho TV. Welcome on board. We're doing what we know how to do best, and that's keeping you informed, keeping you updated, and keeping you up to speed with what exactly is going on right around the world. If you're ready with me, let's go on this one together this beautiful morning. So, let's jump on it. How did your weekend go, by the way? What did you do? What did you not do? Whatever it is, I'm just hoping you had enough rest, because Monday morning is time for another pump up. Let's get up, get out, and get this moolah, right? That's exactly what I'm about. Secure the bag, first of all, and then every other thing will take center stage. Owigho TV, don't forget, on YouTube, Owigho TV, one word. On Instagram, Owigho_off_Abuja. On, what's it called now? Other platforms as well. On TikTok, Owigho_off_Abuja. On Facebook, Owigho Okolo. Do well to follow all those platforms, and then let's take it to another level, step it a notch higher from where we left off last week. It wasn't so much of a smooth weekend for me because I was a bit under the weather. But not to worry though, I'm back and better, stronger this time around, and let's see how we can kick away all those things that be seeming like, yo, I want to hold you down. There's no holding down in this power of, you understand? As the thing they go, as it is up, there's no holding down. There's no waking. There's no holding down. And everything, everybody, just literally have to keep it real. Like, keep it as real as you can. And I tell people oftentimes, like, see, irrespective, right, of whatever happens on your way or on your journey to making or actualizing your dream, you're gonna have to be very, very consistent about it. If it means you running or flying alone, yo, go ahead and do it. If it means you going all the way to do what you're supposed to do, then go ahead and do it. Anything worth doing, they say, is worth doing well. So if you've started and you haven't even gone as far as you're supposed to, just start from somewhere. Just go ahead. So like I was saying, right, when everything starts to go a certain way, it means that something somewhere has to be tweaked a little bit. Let's talk about the fact that there's been a lot going on in recent time. Last week, Natasha, on the other hand, in the National Assembly, Senator Akpabio, and Natasha has already taken over everything that has to do with the social media space, even the news in itself, right? And then we also have issues choke. Ramadan has also started. Big shout out to all my Muslim brothers and sisters. And I'm praying, or this is praying, that this comes with a lot of blessings. All your prayers definitely be answered, because when you do this kind of supplications, especially for yourself, you know exactly where you're headed. Nobody will make you feel like, yo, you're not doing enough, or you're not doing as much as you actually should. So, big shout out to all my Muslim brothers and sisters. Happy Ramadan, and may all your prayers be heard. And also to my Christian brothers and sisters as well. Lent starting. Is it started? That Lent on the 5th, yeah. So on the 5th of March, it's gonna be Lent for my Christian brothers and sisters as well. That'll take us all the way into Easter. So you can see that this is literally a period of sober reflection for everybody. Can we use this moment to pray for Nigeria? Can we use this moment to pray for ourselves? Can we use this moment actually to right the wrongs in areas that we may just not be keeping up? It's a spiritual season. And let that spirituality reflect in the things that we do. Let that spirituality show that, we know what we're doing. We know where we're headed. And God Almighty is the one that we're submitting to. How about that? Jumping on our headlines this morning, I just may be flying solo. Did that on Friday as well. But nonetheless, we be killing it. You know what I'm saying? On this day newspaper here, NLC threatens fresh protest against part tariff hike. NLC threatens fresh protest against power tariff hike. This one is coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. Let's start from there. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has vowed to mobilize workers and citizens for a nationwide protest if the federal government proceeds with its proposed electricity tariff hike, describing it as economic violence against the working class and broader Nigerian populace. This came as the National Union of Electricity Employees warned the federal government against plans to hike electricity tariffs, saying Nigerians should not be paying for darkness. In a communique issued at the end of its National Executive Council meeting in Yola, Adamawa State on February 28, 2025, which was made available to journalists on Sunday, the NLC rejected what it called a sham reclassification of electricity consumers by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. It accused the Ministry of Power and NERC of attempting to force consumers into higher tariff bands under the pretext of service improvement, while in reality deepening economic hardship. The ruling elite, acting as enforcers of global monopoly capital, are determined to further deepen the misery of the Nigerian people through incessant tariff hikes, increased taxation, and relentless economic strangulation, the statement said. The NEC resolved that any attempts or attempted attempts to impose additional electricity tariff will be met with mass resistance. It mandated its National Administrative Council to begin immediate mobilization for protest, warning that government must not test the patience of the Nigerian people. Beyond electricity, the NLC also expressed concerns over the recent 35% increase in telecommunications tariffs. And while the Congress acknowledged an agreement with the federal government to reduce the initial proposed hike from 50% to 35%, it remains skeptical of the government's commitment to keeping its word. The union further warned that if the new telecom tariffs set to take effect from March 1, 2025 are implemented contrary to the agreed terms, it will enforce compliance using all other necessary instruments. So, when you look at this particular development, although Nigerians have complained about how they're being greeted by incessant increase in electricity, telecommunications. The other day, the National Assembly stopped operators of DSTV and GoTV, that's multi-choice, from increasing their tariffs as well. So when we're getting tariffs increase left, right, and center, and the Nigerians are feeling like they're being overtaxed, should we say there's any such thing as being overtaxed, or these taxes are necessary? There's a tax reform bill in the National Assembly that hasn't even started. So I wonder what would happen when that tax reform bill is passed into law or is assented to by Mr. President. Waiting to happen. A particular section of the country are already complaining that they are being marginalized, and that's the North. That's the North. There's a statement from one of the traditional rulers in the North recently, came out and said, even as they be preparing for Ramadan fast, that the North is completely being ignored and completely being marginalized by the Tinubu government. So people are asking, if the North is completely being marginalized by the Tinubu government, I really don't like to go sectional, or regional, or religional. I don't like to go there. I like for us to look at issues as they are. One Nigeria that we truly are, or that we are supposed to be. So I don't know if we really are still one Nigeria or not, but that's what we are supposed to be, right? Now, there's also another region that has been shouting since. Say that they are being marginalized. They are being marginalized. They are being marginalized. We're all talking about the Southeast extraction. Say they are being marginalized. What exactly has been done about that over the years? Or they don't deserve for their issues to be looked into? Even after the IBB revelation, or the revelation he made in his book that was launched in Abuja, and 16 billion also raised for someone who came out to make confessions about how they literally truncated what was said to be the freest and fairest elections in the history of Nigeria. Yet, they contributed 16 billion naira for library. I wonder what's going to be in that library, though. We hope that the library will give us access to information that even happened during the period of this, what did they call them? Murtala Mohammed them. Because at the end of the day, some people are saying after that kind of unprofessional military high-handedness, and all we have to do is to come back and then gather. Dangote said it's going to be paying 4 billion every year for the next 4 years. So on that day, he don't pay the first 4 billion. 16 billion was raised. But then, if we're increasing our tax bracket or increasing our tax net, which is what this administration has come out to say that is one of their focal points, increasing the tax bracket or increasing the tax net, right? If that is what it is it necessary? If it is necessary, can we also increase the purchasing power of the people who you will be taxing from? Because person will never chop. You have tax reform bills coming out, and then you're going to be taxing them from the little that they've been managing, and you're literally going to be saying, okay, when tax reform bills comes into effect or comes into law, personal income tax, for example, I'm not saying that's what it is, personal income tax, first of all, everybody would have a tax identification number, TIN, like individual tax identification number. You should have it already by now if you're Nigerian. If you don't let them come for you. And then it becomes like one of those days where they say, we are giving you 1 month to update your BVN, and then everybody starts to run kati. This is a word for me to you now. If you do not have your tax identification number, that's TIN, go ahead to the nearest FIRS office or FCT IRS. That's the Federal Capital Territory Internal Revenue Service, and then generate your TIN. Let them give you your TIN, because you'll be needing it, bro. You'll be needing it, I tell you that. So at the end of the day, they will not come and say, okay, because tax evasion is a fraud. So if you are also captured within the tax bracket, then you definitely must make sure that you be keeping up with your taxes just the way you're supposed to. It's not a problem. If the money is coming in, it wouldn't be a problem. Like, how many people will complain, right? If at the end of the day, the taxes are being deducted, but what they make in terms of money comes to them as food. So how exactly are they supposed to go about that particular one? Money comes to them, tax goes out from it. But if the money is substantial enough, then if the tax comes, the tax goes, how many people will get worried about it? Because first of all, right, Nigerians who are into businesses need to start understanding the fact that when you're actually billing a client or giving them an invoice for services that you are rendering, right, you must also consider the fact that you have to include that tax in it. Because if they don't pay tax in what they're paying you, you would end up paying tax to the government. So that means by the time you remove your capital, remove your interest, and remove your tax, the other person has cheated you. So someone wants to transfer some amount of money to you, they have to include their 7.5% VAT in it. Because when you are going to make the remittance in itself, you would have to include your 7.5% VAT in that. But let's not delve away from, the electricity tariff hike and then move it into the entire tax system or taxation system. When it comes to electricity, everybody needs it. Whether you're band A, whether you're band B, whether you're band Z, everybody needs electricity, especially for businesses and workers. So, how much of this electricity would Nigerians say that they are privy to, that's available to them? How much of it can they boast and say, yo, this is exactly what's available to us, and we're going to be using it just like that? Abuja is not the only Nigeria. If those who are in band A in Abuja are enjoying a particular amount of electricity per day, but those in other states cannot boast of the same, what's the difference? I saw a particular headline the other day that was talking about the fact that even in the Aso Rock Villa, they light no need. Because of a fault from some armored cables or something that was being, what exactly are we doing? What happened to the cement deal that was initiated by the Buhari government? What exactly? Where is the cement deal? Where is it? We keep having issues upon issues where billions of dollars are being earmarked for certain projects, and at the end of the day, nothing happens to them. The projects do not see the light of day. Projects don't see the light of day. And before you know it, the money is gone, and nobody talks about it again. We can do better, The former chief of staff the late chief of staff to former President Buhari, Abba Kyari, was on his way to Germany with his Siemens power deal contract in his hands. And when I looked at it, I thought, right, that they just may be going, to do like a government to company, because it's not a government to government. It wasn't the German government that was involved. It was Siemens, and Siemens is a company. So Nigeria to Siemens, because if that money gets into the budget, it's gone. The same thing the Nigerian government did under the Buhari administration when they decided that the 6 Super Tucano fighter aircraft that were going to be purchased. They were purchased. It was a government-to-government deal from Buhari's desk to Joe Biden's desk at the time. Because if that money enter budget, it's gone. So how do we begin to ensure, right, that money that people have come to the National Assembly to defend and say, okay, this is why we are budgeting 82 billion for education, or this is why we have budgeted $55 billion for military equipment and ammunitions and all of that. If this is the reason we have actually budgeted this amount of money, can we go ahead and use it for what it was meant for? Before any budget is passed, right? These ministers or whoever they send to the National Assembly are supposed to come and defend what they used the previous year's budget for. What was the implementation progress or status before we approve the new one? So does it mean that the National Assembly committees are always satisfied with the way the initial budget was used before they go ahead to approve the new one? If that is their own level of satisfaction, then it means something is wrong with all of them in their brain. You earmark money for military ammunition. You earmark money for... It's even under this Tinubu administration that I started seeing that, oh, so it's even possible for us to purchase all these military hardwares. It's possible for us to purchase... I mean, if you see the amount of purchases that be done now, you will weep for Nigeria, because you'll be wondering what exactly happened in the last 8 years, in the last 9 years, in the last 15 years. What exactly happened within that period? Let's check out our next headline and see what the story there says, because at the end of the day, some people have said that what is good for the goose is good for the ganja. Let's try this day newspaper here. It says, we will implement Supreme Court's verdict. An urges claim in Rivers State. We will implement Supreme Court verdict. Urges claim in Rivers State. Statement is credited to the governor of the state, talking about Fubara. We will implement Supreme Court verdict. Rivers State Governor Mr. Similoy Fubara yesterday assured the people of the state that he would implement the recent Supreme Court judgment over the lingering political crisis in the state without reservation. But Fubara, who warned that the state might be back to trying times after the recent Supreme Court ruling, has handed victory to his estranged benefactor and tormentor. That's the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, however, sued for calm in the state. In a view of the development, the governor has ordered the heads of local government administrations to immediately take over the administration of the 23 local government councils pending the conduct of fresh elections by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. Fubara, in a statewide broadcast in Port Harcourt yesterday, said though he disagreed with the judgment, he was bound to obey the orders made as he runs a law-abiding government. He stressed that his administration will take necessary action on the judgment only after his legal team has received and analyzed the implications. We are all aware of the recent Supreme Court judgments and pronouncements regarding aspects of the lingering political disputes in our dear state. Although we disagree with the judgment, we are bound to obey the orders made therein as a law-abiding government, he said. The governor emphasized that since inception, we have conducted the affairs of government within the framework of our constitution, due process, and rule of law. While we are not above mistakes because we are human, we believe that we have not, as a government, done anything deliberate to trample on the rule of law or the hallowed principles of constitutional governance. Accordingly, he said, I have had a meeting with my team of lawyers, and they have assured me that a certified true copy of the judgment may be available to them by Friday, the 7th of March, 2025. Fubara assured that on receiving the certified copies of the judgments, he would study their ramifications and implement them without reservations to move the state forward. He said, furthermore, given the outlawing of caretaker arrangements in the local government system, I hereby direct the heads of local government administration to immediately take over the administration of 23 local government councils pending the conduct of fresh elections in Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. Remember that there's been a kind of back and forth when it has to do with Rivers State governor and his principal, talking about the immediate past governor of the state, who is currently the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, over affairs of the state. And after that Supreme Court judgment last week, we could see, Wike and some of his loyalists and supporters, I don't know if that was in Rivers State or if that was in Abuja, in his residence, they were actually doing some kind of praise worship. Say, thank you, God, oh, you have answered our prayers. But some people have asked, Are you rejoicing that the Supreme Court has finally given judgment in your favor or in the favor of the people of Rivers State? Because first of all, you're supposed to be, what do they call them? Rivers State FCT minister. But we all know how, the issue of godfatherism has plagued our Nigerian political system, where a governor starts from one day after the end of his 8 years. He wants to be the one to install the next person, so he continues to control the affairs of the state. But how many governors have been able to do that successfully? People say, oh, Tinubu is the godfather of the godfathers. Some people are like, every other past governor wants to be like Tinubu, where they would be the ones to install whoever the governor is or whoever the governor would be. How feasible is that? But the good thing is that the governor of Rivers State has agreed, right, to implement Supreme Court's verdict. In one of Wike's statements after the Supreme Court gave his ruling, he said that how can three men of an assembly come together and pass an appropriation bill that is supposed to be for an entire state? That is to say, out of all the members of the House of Assembly, only 3 people sat down and prepared the state's budget. Remember what the law says, that one third of the members of the assembly must move a motion in support. And except you have 1/3 of the House moving in support, that's where majority comes in, then whatever you're doing, whatever law it is definitely null and void. And guess what? Even the budget in itself is a law. That's why it has to pass through the the House of Assembly rather, right? After it has been prepared by the executive, which is the governor, he presents to the House of Assembly, and the House of Assembly, which has the legislative mandate to tweak, add, or remove aspects of the budget that they may not be okay with. How much has the National Assembly been able to do that? Like, how much of that have they been able to do? So, it's a good thing that the governor is accepting it. Understand? He says we are going to implement Supreme Court's verdict 100%. I was checking out comments from people over the weekend, and some were like, well, Wike's wife would have a hand in it. Wike's wife. I'm like, Wike's wife is an appeal court judge, right? Is she a Supreme Court judge yet? I think she's an appeal court judge. But nonetheless, even you said, if you reason them, you see, out of a House of Assembly that should have about 40 to 50 members, only 3 people will now come and sit down and then pass the law, pass budgets. It wouldn't work that way. While you're going to any political battles, you must have an understanding of the law and how it works. Because when you go to court, it is what the law says that will definitely be implemented. Like, it is what the law says that would be implemented, not what you say or not what you think. So when you have advisors around you, especially those who are supposed to be like, let's say, the Chief Justice of the state, you should also understand better and advise the governor accordingly. The Chief Justice of that state should have told Fubara from the very get-go that you cannot have a 3-man panel pass an appropriation bill that is supposed to be taken care of by an entire assembly. We know the assembly has been riddled with crisis. I'm talking about the Wike faction versus the Fubara faction and all of that. But who is the Attorney General or the Minister of Commissioner for Justice, rather, in Rivers State? Did you advise your governor accordingly? Did you advise him rightly? Or you just went and gave him advice that even him himself does not even understand? Now look at what the Supreme Court has done. And the Supreme Court is the highest level, nowhere else to go and appeal. One Supreme Court have spoken, twice have you heard. Because if you were to be High Court, you go to appeal. When the appeal is done, if you're not satisfied, you go to Supreme. But this one is coming all the way from the Supreme Court, and that is the highest court. But there's something else about Supreme Court, right? Supreme Court justices are made up of about 7, I think. And if you're not satisfied with what the Supreme Court has said, and you want it to be revisited, there is a part of the law that allows for the Supreme Court to appeal itself, right? And also amend its own judgments. But it is the Supreme Court itself that can actually do that. It is the Supreme Court that can come up with a decision to appeal itself. So the 7-man justices of the Supreme Court are the ones who will come together. If it seems like there are some, one or two issues that may not have been tackled accordingly, right? Then Supreme Court can come together and agree that, okay, we may have to look into this issue again and see how we can tweak it. There's another headline still on this day newspaper that's talking about the harass against the Senate president. ACF wants alleged sexual harassment against Akpabio thoroughly investigated. ACF wants alleged sexual harassment against Akpabio thoroughly investigated. Stories coming in from the newspaper. It says the Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF, has called for thorough investigation into the allegations of sexual harassment leveled against Senate President Godswill Akpabio by the Senator for Kogi Central Senatorial District, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Natasha had accused Akpabio of sexual harassment days after she had an altercation with the Senate President over a sitting arrangement in the upper chamber. In a statement by ACF spokesperson yesterday, Professor Tukur Mohammed Baba, the forum expressed concern over the allegations, saying the issue has negative implication for the national and international public image of the Senate. It stated that even Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, her husband, has been forced to publicly comment on the matter, and all such public interventions have the potential to bring into disrepute a body empowered to make laws for Nigeria. As things now stand in the eyes of the general public, the allegations in question portend definite negative implications for the national and international public image of the Red Chamber of Nigeria's National Assembly. While the imbroglio lasts, the interests of the people of Kogi Central are not being adequately represented in the 10th Senate, it said. While perhaps far-fetched ACF rules the development and hopes that it is not part of the thinly veiled anti-Arewa agenda now pervading the Nigerian political process, the forum said it did appear only senators from the north had been subjected to heavy sanctions such as suspension in the 10th Senate. In the event, ACF wonders if the unfolding event constitutes a potential pattern or there are cruel coincidences at work. Putting it mildly, the public image of the leadership of the 10th Senate is now less than inspiring, Mohammed Baba stated. The forum called for an independent, open and transparent and thorough investigation devoid of fear, favor, or interference of any kind from any quarters to be conducted. So, the Arewa Consultative Forum is coming out to say that there should be an investigation into sexual harassment that's been leveled against the Senate President Akpabio, right? Well, from so many quarters, people have also said it, that he should step aside while investigations are being carried out. What do you think about it? Is that what exactly should happen? Is that the way it should go? Should that be what should take center stage right now? Because, I mean, those allegations are quite grave, if you ask me, especially for someone in that position. His wife has come out to defend. His wife said, no, my husband is not like that. My husband is a jovial person who sometimes gets, misinterpreted because of how jovial he is. I'm like, wow. It's not a crime to be jovial, by the way. But in your being jovial, what do you say? Snake president is one that has come under serious fire and scrutiny in this 10th National Assembly because of the kind of statements that he makes. The other day he said that prayers are being sent to people's email. And some senators will try to correct him there and then like, no, you don't say like that. No, he first said, a token has been sent to your emails for you to enjoy Christmas. And then senators were like, no, that's not how they say it. That's not how you say it. You are making the public know that we are collecting money. Meanwhile, it is alleged that they get as much as 300 million for Christmas allowance. So while he was trying to correct himself and while he was trying to rephrase it, he now said prayers have been sent to your emails for you to use to enjoy Christmas. And I'm like, whoa. I went to check my inbox. Babu. Unfortunately, we are not among those in the red chamber that they will send email to our prayers. Prayers to our email. Because what exactly is that? If prayers can be sent to emails, prayer that we will be sending to God and to heaven, it is send and go email. So if it is true, as I said, it was alleged that about 300 million per senator to go and celebrate Christmas, allegedly. So you can see. Why would they not call it prayers? Why would they not call it prayers? Why? Akpabio's wife has also come out to sue. In fact, she sued for 250 billion naira. Not 2 billion. Not 200 million. 250 billion. Let me take this story from the Punch newspaper. It said that Umona Akpabio, wife of Senate President Godswill Akpabio, has filed separate lawsuits against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja over alleged defamation and violation of fundamental human rights. The legal action follows recent claims by Akpoti-Uduaghan, who represents Kogi Central, that her troubles in the Senate started following her refusal to have a sexual relationship with the Senate president. In the first suit on fundamental rights violation, Mrs. Akpabio accused the senator of making false and scandalous statements that caused emotional trauma for her and her children, leaving them in fear of their lives. She asked the court to declare the statements a violation of her right to dignity under the Constitution and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Akpabio also seeking 250 billion naira in compensation and a perpetual injunction to stop Akpoti-Uduaghan from making further damaging claims. In a separate defamation suit, Ms. Akpabio challenged the senator's claim that her husband made sexual advances towards her. She described the allegations as false, malicious, and damaging, saying that they had brought her family into disrepute and public shame. As part of her words and her demands, she asked the court to order Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to issue a public apology in 2 national newspapers, The Guardian and This Day, and pay 1 billion naira in damages. The allegations have caused untold pain and emotional trauma to me and my family, Ms. Akpabio said in the suit. The court has yet to fix a date for the hearing of both suits. The disagreement between both lawmakers began after Akpoti-Uduaghan discovered that her sitting position in the Senate chamber had changed without her knowledge. She protested the action, causing a brief disruption during the plenary. Now, I want us to look at these two these two suits that she's filed. One, she's seeking 250 billion naira in compensation and perpetual injunction to stop Natasha Akpoti from making further claims. Now, what this means is that, first of all, she's suing for right violation. That's violation of her dignity under the Constitution and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. She said the accusations were false and scandalous, and it has caused emotional trauma for her and her children. Now, when it comes to the part of causing emotional trauma for her and her children, you can agree with me that particular one is not far-fetched. You get it? That particular one cannot be far-fetched because, I mean, what exactly is the reason for, if something like that happens, imagine how the family members would feel. Because it's generated outrage on social media. People have been calling, people have been commenting, all sorts of, comments coming in, especially from social media. And you know what the social media dragging can be like? It's really capable of causing emotional trauma for her and for her family. But on the other hand, when she says that in a separate suit, right, she said that the senator's claims that her husband made sexual advances at her are false. Now, is it in her place to say that they are false, or it's up to her husband to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the statements are false? Except, of course, she was there, talking about the wife of the Senate president. If she were there when all of this was happening, and she knows that, yeah, I was with my husband, or I am with my husband 24 hours of the day. Never did I hear him say anything like that, or never did I hear him make any of such allegations, then it's different. So, should the Senate president, or shouldn't the Senate president be the one to come out and say, no, all these allegations are false, I ain't make any of such moves, I don't make such moves, I wouldn't harass anyone sexually? Does it always have to be the fact that the woman is one coming out to say it's a lie? My husband did not say so. Are you your husband? Is your husband you? Or are you the chief of staff, even the chief of staff to the Senate president? Does he follow the president everywhere? When he's going to the toilet, when he's going to his bath, all his meetings, both private, behind closed doors, behind open doors, behind no doors. So shouldn't it be in the place of the Senate president himself to come out and say, yo, what this woman is saying is completely false, and it has to do with the fact that she hasn't got her way around certain circumstances in the Senate. Or maybe she wanted something, she wanted favors, and because we didn't give her the favor, that's why she's acting that way. Shouldn't it be in the place of Mr. Senate President to come out and defend that? I'm just asking, because if it's in the first suit that talks about how it has caused emotional trauma for her and her children, that's very understandable. Because believe me, if that kind of accusation comes out, or you are somewhere doing or going about your business, and then you just begin to hear, like, your phone begins to ring, people start calling you, yo, there's news about your husband on social media, there's news about your husband on TV, there's news about your husband on radio, they say your husband is making sexual harassment and advances to another senator. The senator that comes out and says your husband is this, and then the children also, who may be in school and supposed to be facing their studies, start receiving such messages online and such calls as well. Say, yo, your father is being dragged for sexual harassment. Another person could call. Your father, they say your father, the pursue person. They say your father won't touch woman inside office. They say your father, they follow women up and down. Imagine how it would make them feel. So on that particular lawsuit, the emotional trauma it has caused her and her children is very understandable. But the second one, where you say that claims that her husband makes sexual advances towards Natasha is wrong. Who is in the place to make that one? It's one thing to say, yes, it's my husband, I know him. After all, they say, when a man and a woman come together, two shall become one. So maybe in that context, you can say, yes, it's true, because, I mean, two of them have become one. So whatever he does, she does. Whatever she does, he does. Whatever he says, she says. Whatever she says, he says. If it's in that case, well, it's left for the court to actually decide. For whatever any other person is saying, still alleged, right? Until a court of competent jurisdiction comes out to say this is either declared null and void, or Natasha Akpoti is guilty and she'll pay the sum of 250 billion. Does she even have that kind of money? 250 billion naira. She get them. You not say 1 billion. You not say 1.5 billion. You don't even say 150 million. 250 billion naira. Please, somebody should come and accuse me of sexual harassment. Make me sue. My own is going to be $152 billion for defamation of my personality and personal interests. Let's see this final one before we go this morning. Definitely so much about River State, Akpabio, and the rest of that. Now let's see this one here from Premium Times. It has to do with, foreign affairs, Donald Trump's deportation, and how Nigerians have been affected. From Premium Times here, this story says, despite identifying thousands of Nigerians for deportation, U.S. is yet to provide Nigeria with details. Despite identifying thousands of Nigerians for deportation, U.S. has yet to provide Nigeria with details. Stories coming from Premium Times. Although the U.S. government has identified about 3,690 Nigerians to be deported under President Donald Trump's policy of deporting undocumented migrants, it has yet to formally notify the Nigerian government, officials have told Premium Times. This newspaper contacted the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, and Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs to inquire about what messages they had received from the U.S. government about Nigerians to be deported. NIDCOM referred all inquiries on the topic to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. In its response, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said Nigeria has yet to receive official information regarding the total number of Nigerians to be deported on the date of their return and/or the date of their return. The ministry's acting spokesperson, Kimebe BMFR, told Premium Times that Nigeria will prepare to receive the deportees when a confirmed number and a date for their return are available. Since taking office on 20th of January, President Donald Trump has issued a series of immigration-related executive orders, laying the groundwork for a broad crackdown on undocumented migrants in the U.S., one of his major campaign promises. At the heart of his immigration policy in a commitment to expelling unlawful migrants and fulfilling his promise of mass deportations, the Trump administration deported over 37,000 people in the first month of its second term to countries like Honduras, Ecuador, and India. However, there have been no deportations to Nigeria and most African countries yet, with officials saying the monthly figures will increase. About 3,690 Nigerian nationals who are considered to be residing in the U.S. illegally have been outlined by the country's ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO, as part of those to be deported. Premium Times reported that Nigeria had the second highest number of citizens slated for deportation in Africa, following Somalia, which had 4,090 people. Last week, the U.S. envoy to Nigeria, Richard Miller, disclosed that the U.S. was set to return the first set of 85 Nigerian deportees. He said Nigerians who were convicted in the U.S. will be repatriated to Lagos State as the first batch of deportees. Those to be repatriated will be dropped in Lagos. There wouldn't be room for whether it should be in Port Harcourt or Abuja. Nah, Lagos, they could just go dump them. Nothing like, oh, they need to go to Abuja or they need to go to Port Harcourt. They will take them to the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Dump all of them there. From there, you find your way. But the thing is, those who have been living illegally in the U.S. legally, right? According to statements or reports, we heard already that about 3,690 Nigerians have been considered to be residing in America illegally, and thus are set to be deported. But the Nigerian authorities in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, have said that they do not have any information whatsoever about when or how these illegal migrants in the U.S. would be deported to Nigeria. Now, one question I have is, should Nigerians wait until the U.S. government gets to reach out to them and say, yo, hello, is that Foreign Affairs Ministry in Nigeria? We have 3,690 of your nationals who will be deported. Can you make arrangements for them to be flown out of U.S. and brought back to Nigeria? Or the Nigerian government waiting for the U.S. to just bring them? And when they bring them, what arrangements we made? Or, after all, it's their fatherland. So when they reach, they find their father house. Is that it? Whatever it is, remember even the prodigal son. The day he woke up and got back to his senses, he said, I shall arise and go to my father's house. So even the servants there, did they chop past me with the maybe the bona fide father of a king. So, Nigerians in the US, if you have been or if you are among those 3,690 people that are about to be deported or that may be deported soon to Nigeria, don't take it as though they are taking life away from you or opportunities away from you. Come back. We need all of you back here. Let's work together and see what we can make of this country. After all, those countries that are they be our problem. I no lie for you. Those places we are running to, they're the ones who are even choking us in the throat. Kemi Badenoch, I'm actually going to come for you specially. I'm going to do a special recording for you. I applaud the Prime Minister of the UK for the bashing that he gave you, since you have refused to have sense. See, I advised the Prime Minister to halt aid going to going to your country. He said that you are desperately looking for relevance. Maybe now your eyes have opened. They never leave you go. You're Nigerian, and then because you found your way and found yourself in the UK, you now decide to turn your own people against. Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that. I'm now a citizen. Citizen Gogidia.